Hello, everyone. Welcome to our May Business Growth Roundtable. Betty Boros, would you like to give us a sense of what's going on at NJBIA these days?
I would. Thanks so much. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us at the New Jersey Business and Industry Association's Business Growth Roundtable. We at NJBIA are thrilled to have helped in the creation of this amazing group led by such amazing women. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the nation, representing about 1/4 of all New Jersey employees, and we offer customer development opportunities, visibility through events, magazine ads, or our podcast and TV shows, and money-saving discounts on stuff you're probably already paying for, like payroll, healthcare, a 401k solution, and 24/7 HR support. I am Betty Boros, one of the executive leaders here at NJBIA, and if you're interested in more info on us, I'll drop the website in the chat along with my contact information. Please feel free to be in touch and we can get you whatever you need. And with that, I will now turn it over to the marvelous Vicki Hart of Paradigm Marketing and Design.
Well, thank you so much, Betty. I'm also a proud ambassador of NJBIA. So if you're interested in learning more information too, and we happen to bump into each other, please do not hesitate to ask. So as Betty said, I'm Vicki Hart, Director of Client Engagement at Paradigm Marketing and Design. We are a sales enablement company with expertise in working with companies that have a complex sale. So in these uncertain times, if you're interested in growing your business instead of hiding, please make sure you reach out. We have the opportunity to help your business grow. So again, Vicki Hart, Paradigm Marketing and Design. And now let me shine a spotlight on our sponsors. You know, we can't do this alone. Our partnership with C3, our partnership with NJBIA, and our partnership with Cal Thomas of Sandler. I cannot say enough about Sandler. Cal Thomas is the president of Sandler Training in Northern New Jersey, and he is a global leader, and the organization is a global leader in sales management and customer service training. As a disciple, did you see what I did there, Cal? A disciple. Sandler has actually changed my way of doing business. I am a graduate, and everyone within our organization at Paradigm who is client facing goes through the Sandler program, and it has changed our outcomes exponentially. I went from having a 30% closing rate to a 70% closing rate. And if you are interested in learning how that can happen, please make sure you reach out to the fabulous Cal Thomas. Cal, make sure you drop your information in the chat. And then there is our wonderful friend, Kim Luthi. Kim is she's the director of wealth planning at Synthesis Wealth Management in Morristown. She is passionately committed, and anybody who knows Kim knows she is a true brick gal. And if you want to know what that means, you're going to have to reach out to Kim. She is wonderful and committed to helping her clients elevate and thrive through thoughtful strategic planning. And for over 35 years, which is possible because I think she's got that Benjamin Button thing. I don't know how you could be doing anything for 35 years, Kim, but she has. And she shares with everyone how grateful she is to walk along her clients in helping them grow and find clarity and the confidence so that they can plan for the life that they want and the life that they deserve. Kim, who has recently been recognized as NJBIZ Leader in Finance. Hello, what a wonderful honoree she is. Continues to connect with this and shepherd her clients through this journey called life. And what a journey it is. We want to thank Kim for her continued support and sponsorship for this program. And then just to drop a little excitement for what's happening here in June, please join us on Tuesday, June 13th for our next Business Growth Roundtable. Donna's going to drop the link in the chat. It is powering your business with AI, tools, strategies, and insights. I know I cannot wait for this one. This has been like the hot topic, and I cannot wait to be a part of this. So make sure you mark your calendars and make sure that you register. Donna, take it away, my friend.
Oh, Vicki, you're always so hard to follow. I feel like I have to up my energy game.
I haven't even had my coffee yet, Donna. How about that?
Okay. So thank you, Vicki. Thank you, everyone. I'm Donna Miller, president of C3 Workplace and founder of Donna Miller Business Growth Consulting. And for nearly 30 years, yes, Vicki, it's possible, we've been helping companies to start and grow. We do that by providing support and advisory services around operations, business development, and finance. We allow growing teams and business owners to work smarter by focusing on that which truly drives your business forward. Working on your business versus in your business. Our clients know that by bringing us on to build systems that are efficient, connected, and executable, they're laying the foundation for building a company that will, wait for it, grow without them involved in every little detail. And that's why I'm so excited for our topic today, which I'll get to in just a moment. So let me bring our panelists to the stage. I'm going to introduce Laura Osborn. Laura, join us on stage. Laura started Crothers Consulting 12 years ago. She helps leaders gain clarity around people, leadership, and culture issues. And trust me, those are critical issues to all of you. The Crothers team, which numbers well over 20, I think at this point, provide a creative and unique perspective to HR that's vital to understanding the nuances of high growth organizations. Leaders rely on the Crothers team to help be their HR sounding board, their leadership coach, and to provide management skills to their teams. And Laura is going to bring her people up, but I have to say that I love that we are talking about this topic of building a self-scaling company, which is the entire focus of my business growth consulting, but it's around the teams. And I have always believed as a person, even outside of a professional and a business owner, we are meant to raise up leaders. We're better off for it. They're better off for it. And I really believe it's how we make the world a better place. So Laura, let me hand it over to you and your colleagues and enjoy. And just a tiny bit of housekeeping before we start. We will have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. I'm going to ask you to use the Q&A segment in your Zoom. The chat can get a little unruly. We've got well over 100 people registered for this. So use the Q&A section for your questions, but also do use the chat to introduce yourself. This is part of virtual networking. So Laura, it's all yours.
Thanks, Donna. I am so excited to be here today talking about one of my favorite things, which is leadership and management development, and getting a chance to spend some time with one of our favorite clients, the P-Value Group. So I'd like to invite Christine and Linda to come to the stage.
Hi, Laura.
There you go. So with us today, we have the CEO of the P-Value Group of Companies, Linda Covari, and the COO Christine Kerrigan. Founded in 2004 by Linda, P-Value is privately owned and has multiple agencies that provide full service communications, medical communications, and top-rated speakers bureau services. They currently have 160 employees and over 60 million in revenue. We are dealing with the Great Resignation, but not at P-Value. They have leadership retention over 90% and turnover that is well below the industry standard. We're going to learn a little bit more about how they did that. They're a true growth story with a visionary leader, both before and during COVID, when much of their industry was struggling as live congresses and conferences all halted. So figuring out how Linda and Christine figured this out. We're going to focus really on one part of their high growth journey, because obviously they've got lots of secret sauce that's going on over there. How they prepared their internal talent on their team to step up to new levels as they grow. So Linda, I'd love for you to take a moment and share with our audience a little bit about you and a little more about P-Value's growth story.
Sure. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for the great introduction. I represent P-Value Communications. I started the company 19 years ago. With my background, really, I'm a doctor in pharmacy and P-Value Communications. What we do, drug companies are pretty much our clients, and we help our clients train physicians and nurses and pharmacists about new drugs or about new disease targets. So when we started, it was me in the dining room table. I had come from another medical communications company, ran a very large account. The company went public and new management was brought in. So my good luck leadership story was getting fired. So believe me, anyone firing can make someone angry and realize, I can do this on my own. So I started P-Value. We started growing. Christine was one of my first hires. She also was with the previous company. We both worked together. So we started and we kept growing and growing, and we had our ups and downs. The first down was during the recession, and many companies our size were going out of business. That was in around 2008. We had a great client. We were extremely busy, kept growing and growing. And then the second downturn, COVID. Laura, as you mentioned, COVID, we do live events for our business. So now what? We had already, through Christine, had been well aware of how to work remotely, and we had everything set up. So we were very fortunate to have that situation. So as we went through COVID, we saw this coming, and we said, okay, we need to find new ways to keep healthcare providers trained and educated during this time. And we proactively made recommendations on how to do this type of education remotely. So lucky for us, we were prepared, we were proactive, and we were very successful. But that almost hurt us. As we were growing, we tried to hire more senior management, didn't work. Christine, taught people to be very buttoned up and organized. The new people who were a little older came with some sloppiness. So we kind of changed our focus. We focused on hiring the young, and those that were superstars, we wanted to invest in them and train in them and push them to be developed even quicker and take on new leadership and new responsibility sooner. During COVID, you saw these young kids, they were alone in apartments, scared to death. So we really had to think about how could we give back to them, make them feel special, and also reinforce that they had a family helping them, surrounding them, and getting them through this tough time. So that's kind of how we turned a very bad situation into something good for our clients and for our people.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. That was great to hear. And your culture of developing young superstars and accelerating their careers internally by giving them opportunities. I've seen you do that time and time again. So one of those superstars that you identified early and brought with you as you started the company was Christine. And crazy, you guys have been together 18 or 19 years. Doesn't even look like you've been working that long. Like, you started in high school, right, with your PhD. So anyway, we're thrilled to have you with us today too, Christine. And so why don't you share a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. So like Linda mentioned, I was one of the first hires to the company. I did work at the same company and got a call one day, met her. She talked to me a little bit about the company that she was building. And at the time I said, why not take a chance on a startup? There's no downside of this. So that was in 2005, and I haven't looked back since. The momentum really started to pick up. And as she mentioned, we started to hire other people who just wanted to work hard. They were, smart, wanted to work hard, wanted also to roll up their sleeves at that time because we had to build a company. And so we brought in really talented people, and that just perpetuated. We kept just finding more people like us, and wanting to build that culture of grinding, getting the job done, doing the best service we could for our clients, and growing along the way. And so here we are, in 2023, and we're a lot larger than we were in 2005.
Yeah, and you were promoted to COO 2, 3 years ago?
A couple years, yeah, I think a couple years ago or so, so I did have a background I started with the company doing project management, moved into account management, managing clients. And then at that time, I saw a need to organize people and the things and processes, and we were getting bigger. So while I still did my client management and project management, I also just started tinkering with the operations of, okay, let's put best practices down on paper. Let's look at staffing and make sure that we have enough people. And so it was fairly organic as far as my jump into operations. And then that role grew over time. It got to a point where, it was too much for just one person. And so we expanded the operations department a little bit, to also support all the account management and scientific people that we brought in. And we've gotten more sophisticated over the years, obviously, putting in platforms and processes and technology in place to make us more efficient.
And I have to tell you, I did not want her to leave account management. Her clients loved her. She grew business organically. So it was tough. But I felt in order to, first of all, it was the best decision ever. But you saw her just pick it up and run with it. And it was exciting to watch. And God knows what we needed the help. So she was wonderful in that new role.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of your comment about rising leaders and superstars, here it is. And you took the initiative yourself, and then Linda let it flourish with a little bit of fear about letting you go with some of these top accounts, right?
Right. Well, I think that's true for any of the leaders we have in our company right now. They all grew into the roles organically and saw a need, filled a need. And it wasn't us having to beg or, plead. It was everyone was kind of raising their hands of how can we grow? How can we leverage our own talents across the agency? So, and I have to say, I think the core group of people who started at the company who are still there today, as you'll see on our website, we all had that mentality, and that mentality just passed down, and we found people who were kind of willing to.
You're making it sound simple, not so simple. You guys are.
It's not so. No, it's not so simple, but it is easier when you have really good people.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
It can be simple, right? I guess.
Good talent helps. So we started working with both of you before COVID, because I remember I came to your office and we had a meeting. And at that point, you wanted to do some formal leadership development work for your top team, in addition to better defining some performance management processes that you had recognized. You had a newer HR leader in place. And we started collaborating with P-Value on 3 important topics. Leadership development was one project, management skills training workshops was another project, as you had all these rising leaders and you were growing so quickly. And then performance management program design, and then training, because a big part of that is setting those goals and how to give the valuable feedback, right? So why and how did you know it was important to do these things?
Laura, I my first job out of college was as a drug representative for Eli Lilly. They had one of the best training programs ever. You went away for 3 weeks and they taught you how to walk, talk, dress, and build relationships. Then when I started going on site and talking to some of the people, I realized you're coming to a little mom and pop agency right out of college. What about that formalized training that everyone needs? And then I realized even at Christine and senior leaderships, they never had it. So that's when we interviewed a few agencies. Laura, obviously you came out on top. And I kind of said, what can we do? Not knowing anything. And Laura, you gave a few examples of what type of programs, what type of training you provide. And so we went through the exercise and I kind of just followed your lead. And ever since then, it's been a great way for me to give back to everyone that didn't have the type of training I had.
Yeah, and it's true, right? The large companies invest a lot of money in development. And for, organizations, we talk about people should be putting aside really it's kind of that 6% of payroll to focus on training. And as you grow quickly, leadership and management skills is important. So what we did with P-Value is we first conducted leadership 360s because it's critically important that people gain awareness, not only individually, but collectively as a team on what your strengths are and what you could do to potentially improve your effectiveness individually and then effectiveness as a group. And you've all probably heard, people say, oh, you're only as good as your weakest link. Honestly, in leadership, that's true too. As a top team, you're only as good as your weakest link. So it will bring down the collective effectiveness of an organization unless you find ways to rise that person up with you. So one of the things that I think was super cool when we were working with you is different from many of the clients we worked with. Your team was really surprised at how many leadership strengths they had. And they were able to start to lean into those strengths and leverage them, because leadership development isn't really about, let's fix all the stuff that's wrong. It's about leaning into strengths and figuring out how you can best utilize those things and how you can become more effective in other areas. And sometimes it's minimizing not necessarily a skill or developing a new skill, it's minimizing a reactive behavior. Some of these behaviors that we all are born with end up limiting us a little bit. And so being aware of the impact on those reactive behaviors on some of your leadership effectiveness is that self-awareness I'm talking about. So we did leadership 360s, and then every leader got to work with a coach for some sessions to really understand what their results were, understand what the whole group's results were, and then determine what they wanted to do about it. And usually it's like, hey, where are some strengths you can lean into? And what are some reactive behaviors that you might want to start thinking about minimizing so that some of the other strengths will start popping, right? So that was a lot of fun. And one thing we saw that was really unique was a high level of trust in Linda and in Christine. I remember you guys got these amazing results. And in turn, you're really led with trust and led with that, just like your story, Linda, of saying, oh my God, I'm going to let Christine step away from our biggest client, but I trust that she's going to help us develop and someone else is going to step into that role and flourish. And so allowing people to step into the bigger role and the gratitude that they all felt, for both of you was just so loud and clear through this. I remember the first time we met one-on-one, Linda, you were super clear about where you wanted to spend your time and where your strengths were. You had that awareness. And so how hard is it to trust other people to focus on those areas that you were thinking, I don't love this as much anymore. I do it, but I'd really rather spend time elsewhere.
Yeah, with someone like Christine, it was very easy to trust and let go. Others were resistant, and it's very interesting, as running a company and you see the differences, who kind of sees the feedback and agrees with it, who sees the feedback and can't believe it's so much more positive than they thought, and those who see negative feedback and say, that's not real, that's not true. So resistance tells you something that's key about those individuals. So that was interesting. At that point, I thought, we've been through this for 15 years. If that person won't change, they won't change, but let's give it a shot. And I found that going through this exercise with the top management was so beneficial that we started to share it with the level underneath of them. And here, everyone was so appreciative. There was no resistance. So they were so ample and accepting of feedback and then opening up and talking about how can I change my behaviors. And I tell you, watching that team grow was incredible. not only were they better problem solvers, but I saw anxiety lower. You know, we can't move timelines. It's showtime or it's no time. So we have to be ready to execute at Saturday morning, 7 a.m. I found when things kind of went a little haywire on site, these girls rose to the occasion. You know, they stopped, they thought, they huddled, they went through a system to resurrect whatever was going wrong very calmly. And you just saw this maturity and behavioral change that I think was great. So I said, wow, this investment is the best ever. The young people love the attention, and they were saying, wow, P-Value is investing in me. This is my time to talk with Laura about my issues. And it was wonderful. And it returned itself in spades to watch these people get developed and grow so quickly.
Awesome. Thank you. And, you know, we had some coaching, you know, and like for some firms, what we do is we'll just say, let's just do a bank of coaching hours. And then whoever wants to avail themselves, which works nicely. And then we got to meet with so many of your people and really help them on their individual journeys, you know, to stepping up to some more leadership. So Christine, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but I recall you had incredible strengths in leading and mentoring, seen in everyone in your 360. And I remember you were just like so grateful for all this feedback that they gave you. And we talked about leveraging that strength and lifting you out of some of the day-to-day that you were still in, so you could spend more time actually coaching and mentoring the leaders in the organization who, at that point, you were still feeling like a lot of them were your peers from that original start time. You were like, oh, we were all together. I don't know that I should mentor her. We're like, go. So how did it feel, you know, to have your team view you this way and to make this change?
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't, in full honesty, I wasn't terribly surprised that people thought I was a decent leader, because I kind of, you know, we all were good leaders together. So I wasn't like shocked or shell shocked by it.
Right.
But I always, like you said, I viewed us as one team, and I still, I think, do to this day, right, of like, it's joint decision making, but you helped me and your team helped me of sometimes there's just decisions that have to be made, and we cannot ask for 15 people's opinion, right? We just have to make a decision of what's best. And we have to keep it to a small group. And that I was embedded in a lot of this day-to-day weed stuff. And I never knew anything different. I never really thought about it. I didn't mind any of it, but it was preventing me sometimes from seeing the bigger picture or being able to focus on the bigger picture. And in order for us to be able to, you know, increase our size, whether it was both in business and obviously in employees, I couldn't focus on the small stuff anymore. So you guys definitely helped me see that. And in the feedback that came back, people had said that they were like, she's so involved in all this small stuff. I kind of feel bad that she's doing this. And I viewed it as a good thing. I thought I was doing a service to people. And while they were grateful for me, they found it like, she can let it go, she can let it go, or she doesn't have to do that. There's people that can help her. And I always felt bad for taking people's assistance. Since then, though, I have a great team of people all around me and under me who are able to do some of that small stuff so I can focus on the big stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just realized not everybody on the call might know what a 360 is. A 360 is when you review yourself, you get your boss and your boss's boss to review you, you get your peers to review you, your subordinates to review you, and then there's another category which we call other, that it could be clients, it could be, if you're in ops, you can ask the sales team, like whoever you think you'd get valued feedback from. So that's a 360, and you get to look at it in a whole and by each slice. So you can see sometimes that, like, well, I'm really good at managing my team, but not so much with my peers, right?
Yes.
And so it's super, super valuable feedback that everybody should get multiple times in their life. It really helps us grow as people. So in addition, you guys rolled out that management skills training program to your new and existing managers. You were growing so fast, people were moving up from within, young men and women. I know you said women before, but I want to tell the group the 160 employees are not all women, a large percentage, which is good, but you've got some guys there too.
Yes.
And people knew that they were selected for this development program, right? I recall your leaders and managers, some of them saying like, wow, like you said, Linda, they had been with you since right out of college. And they were like, I've never had anything like this. And they felt special to be selected to be a part of it. And as you continued to cascade down from your top team to your middle layer, to your managers, to your supervisors, how did that, how did that help you with retention? Or do you think it helped you with retention?
Oh, it definitely did. And especially now you say, the year of resignations, the resignation is a badge of honor. Yeah, and we saw that. And that's why kind of identifying those superstars and saying, wow, I want them on this team for a while, giving back to them in something of this format. We give kudos after we come back from a big program. The senior person sends a big, here's how it went this weekend. And then we give shout outs to each person and how they contributed to the success. And we color coded and it's fancy. That's great. Spot bonuses are great. But this, I felt, was the most powerful tool to give to them because it was an investment in them and it was time away from themselves and away from the company that they could talk about themselves and where they wanted to be. So it was very important. And then the feedback that you gave us so that we could kind of work on some of those issues behind the scenes, I think they felt like they were getting support from all sides. So thus we saw, the people that we really wanted to stay, they're still here. So we're very happy. And that's how we kind of saw the young leaders coming into us. We needed to pay more attention to them and give them more me time for their development.
Yeah. And that me time is a gift when you're running a crazy busy agency like this and people are working all kinds of hours to be able to step back, and breathe. And I think that you mentioned, the woman on my team, well, you work with several different people on my team, but Deb was one of the ones that you did a lot of work
Phenomenal.
with. And that interrelationship, where Deb was working with your HR leader and with you guys and with the individuals and trying to help allow you to continue to support people on their growth journey by giving you hints as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of the beauties of coaching, where you can be fluid in an organization and really help that. So, do you want to talk about some of the other ways coaching has been used? Christine, I know we've had some different calls along the way, like, hey.
Yes. So, and you mentioned, I'll piggyback on what you said with working with our HR, your team, while we went through this coaching process of the senior leadership, the leadership below us, and even some of the leaders below them, you guys were very respectful of our HR, right? So it was a partnership, and you gave us tools and also looped our HR team into what was going on. And so they were very included in the process. No one felt alienated. They were able to then take some of the stuff that was being said and was going on and weave it into these little things that would pop up, right? And that they would say, okay, let's talk about her, performance review or his, we do have or, I know that you've been talking about this, let's implement this, that, or the other. So that was a great partnership. And then also working with the leaders at the company, it helped them work with their employees. So it benefited, while the employees weren't a part of this 360 or the coaching, they, I hope, felt the benefits of it because it made the people who were managing people better. It made them maybe more thoughtful in certain scenarios, maybe more sympathetic, maybe a little harder in other areas, depending on what the situation was. But we structured one-on-ones a little bit better. We made sure that there was time carved out to get ahead of things. If we knew that there were, certain situations that maybe we needed to be proactive, or we kind of saw, okay, we feel like this is going to come about. Structured one-on-ones, carve out a time to make sure that you're not just talking about transactional, what do we need to get done and how things are going, but how are you doing and what's going on with you and how are you feeling about your development? And the managers kind of learn the importance that some of their employees felt like they needed more, maybe they needed less. So that was super helpful as well. We were able to parlay that.
Yeah. And, I think, I'm thinking it almost like a sponge, like the folks were so hungry for this that they really went out and tried different skills and different things, or said, oh, that I never thought about that. Let me start implementing this. And so obviously for an organization to continue to grow and scale, it goes all the way down. It's the leaders and the directors and the supervisors, and you want it to cascade to the employees. So you create this culture of development and growth and, things that mean a lot to you, like empathy and teamwork. And, you had a lot of really good values that we wanted to reinforce through different programs.
Yeah. And as Linda mentioned, we were all at some point we were all self-taught. And we all kind of bounce off of each other and take best practices from each other. But we did wonder along the way, all of us at a bunch of different levels, like, but is this valid? Is this valid, or what we're doing? Is this right? And that's when you helped us validate. Okay, for the most part, we were doing all the right things. There were certain tweaks we could make, but that was very helpful. And actually, with the 360s, we formalized 360s in our performance management as well. And so everyone's, even though it's not, something that we're going external for, everyone benefits continually from the 360 feedback, during their performance management.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think, oops, I just lost it. I had a thought, but the thought is gone. So I know, you had, as we were talking through COVID, and then especially this last year, you had a ton of your key leaders and managers maternity leave. So yes, women, but maybe some took paternity leave too. Yes. How did you minimize disruption and preserve continuity for your clients? I mean, it was a boom. Would you like 25% of your life?
It was a baby boom. Yeah, we so under senior leadership, right? There's a VP level and 5, and now it's, we have some more people going out as people are returning. We had a baby boom, and at first we thought, okay, wow, like this is going. It was all condensed in the same quarter that they were going to, be out. And I have to say, I mean, while we love them, we love them dearly. We set ourselves up for success and that's what any business should do, right? It shouldn't completely hinge on any one person. You need redundancies. You need some overlap. But they had done such a fantastic job of prepping the folks underneath them. Some of them were people that had been with us for a long time. And so we knew that they had the ingredients and then that we had built the right model, right? But some people were newer to our agency. They weren't legacy people who kind of were born at P-Value. So we had a combination of both, but those folks did such a good job of mentoring them, shaping them, giving them the tools so that when they were out, there was, they were missed, there was minimal disruption. I would say really no disruption. And then above them, the SVPs of account services, our model has always been that we are still involved in client relationships in the business. We don't stray far. We are not in an ivory tower. So they were still intimately involved and had enough knowledge of what was going on that they could then gap fill, right? So with the 2 layers of the sandwiches, they were able to keep everything running. And now that they're back, we have we have 2 of the 5 back. We are starting to introduce them back into what's gone on since you've left, right? Where are we at? Where, do we need you to focus your time now that some of the folks underneath them have done such a great job doing some of the stuff that they did before prior to now we can have it's such a freedom, and I hope they feel like this if they're on this call. I hope they feel the same way, that it's kind of a freedom that they can now explore, and we can have them do some new ventures because they did their job really well of prepping people.
Well, I mean, what a perfect example of rising leaders, guys, right? So you've given people training, they've got tools, and now they get opportunities to step up for various reasons, whether it's just organic growth or somebody goes on leave or, and now you're not just saying, okay, Susie, come back, and Joe, go back and do your old job. You're going, okay, how can we leverage this? Joe did these things really well. Where can we use Susie differently with her talents to step up or take things off Christine's plate or somebody's, right? And so that is it, guys. That is the secret sauce of being able to continue to grow and build a company and rise
and retain, because it's also not fair for the folks right underneath them who have risen to the occasion. They did what they needed to do. They want growth too, right? So and you want to, that's why we've, prior to any of these maternity leaves, that was always our model, is making sure that everyone has somewhere to go, that they never feel stale, they never feel stagnant, because then that's when people leave, right? And that doesn't always mean promotion, promotion after promotion. It could mean different clients that you're working on, different types of business that we have. So we had to make sure, and it was a discussion amongst everyone, and we had to make sure that everyone would not feel like they were taking any sort of step back with all, people returning.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Linda, when, as we're talking, I mean, I know you're, well, 160 employees now. When did you hit the really starting to having to grow and grow organically? Was it 50? Was it 75? Was it 100? When did you feel like it was a huge growth point where people had to step up differently?
I would say about 8 years ago. I think it was just under 100 people. And what we saw in our industry, we don't have salespeople. So our team, the VP levels, they developed these relationships, they executed well. And when people left their company and went to another company, they brought us with them. So, but now about, 8 years ago, there's a buzz out there with our name on it. The doctors know us. They know how we execute. They thank the clients for hiring us. That's the best decision they ever made. So now that we have this reputation behind us, and now that some of the clients that were once, product managers, now they're chief medical officers or they're chief CEOs. Now they're saying, P-Value, come, I have to launch my first product. I want you in this building. So we're getting MSAs much easier than in the past. So I felt a need that I saw this kind of coming, and I said, this is bigger than me. I need professional help for me and for my team, so that, like Christine said, to pressure set, are we really doing the right things? We think we are, we're successful, but you gave us tools that validated what we knew, showed us some things we didn't know, and then in turn we could pass them down. But we needed more kind of sophisticated training, so people also recognize their talents and their areas for development.
Yeah, and that was, now I remembered what I was going to say a few minutes ago. It was actually part of the 360 leadership tool that we use. Actually gives you normative data. So the hundreds and thousands of leaders all around the world globally who have gone through this, it compares your data against that. So you really do see, okay, my people thought I'm good at this, but how does that compare to leaders everywhere? Mm-hmm. So, that normative data gives you that comfort level that, we're not only people here think we're doing the right thing, but against this global database, we're really rocking it.
Mhm.
So
And
how do your clients react to rising leaders when they've got people they love on their accounts and now you're shifting things around?
Well, you first saw wide eyes. Oh, you're promoted. That means you're going to be off my team. And that's typically what happens in our industry. However, the promotion for them meant, first of all, most of the team, they've been with that client for a while. So they worried about who's going to execute for me now. Well, the promotion made them rise above, but then they saw that the teammate underneath of that person grew just as much. So they were handling all the day-to-days. But if anything happened, that senior manager who was just promoted is still in the team, just more resources under them. So now it almost became like some of our clients almost took on a maternal instinct. And they're like, wow, I'm going to help the person under be just as good as their manager. So it kind of was an all hands on deck to help the new people who were taking over. And yet it was kind of like, in the bird's nest, the mother bird was still there just watching over. And it was really a dynamic growth. It was so complimentary that our clients invested in their teammates as much as we did. So it was once the glazed eye came over and they saw the under team was just as good. It's been a great fostering network all the way around.
Well, and how cool is that? What a good cultural statement, and it feeds into the way you treat your clients. And when I think about the story you were telling me where you supported local companies wherever they were, their shows were, and sent food to all of them from local restaurants to keep them in business during COVID.
Oh, during COVID, that took off. We saw this. I'm like, all these small shops, what's going to happen? So we worked very closely with the representative in that area. And we said, no chains, no chain restaurants. We want you to go to the mom and pop deli or, so normally a meal is provided when healthcare providers are being educated, a very modest meal. So here was a sandwich from local Joe's Deli, being delivered through Grubhub. So we were keeping all these people in business as much as we could. It was something we could give back, but yeah, that our clients loved the opportunity to give back during COVID.
Yeah. I mean, and that stickiness between you
Yes.
and the clients and your people, like I just hear so many stories of it. So the last thing, we're getting down here on time, and I want to leave some time for people to ask questions to you amazing P-value leaders. But we talked about your team getting more comfortable, setting goals, outlining development opportunities, delivering difficult feedback, and put in the system. And then you guys added the 360 component on an ongoing basis. How has the right performance management process helped you continue to have this culture of growing your management team from within?
Right. So coinciding with all this coaching, we decided to take on the project of completely revamping our performance management, which you guys helped us with. We had it before. It was not as formal as it is now. And when I say formal, we are not a stuffy corporate setting. So we couldn't have something that was so rigid. But we needed something a little bit more formal. We wanted to make sure that all these great talented people that we had amongst our company felt like we were investing in them, that they had a place to go, that there was a plan, right? And that it wasn't just willy-nilly. And so we did, we revamped the performance management. The tool that you guys helped us build works for us now. There's a few different components to it. But I think the key thing is the goals and objectives setting, right? Is sitting down and having goals and objectives, discussions with between an employee and manager, things that are a little far reaching, but are well within reach. And then also the emphasis on having these conversations, not just once a year at performance management time. That's silly, right? But constant feedback, and in these one-on-ones, and that there should be a quarterly check-in, that's a little bit more formal, so that people know where they stand. They know how they're progressing. You can make adjustments as things happen. But there's no surprise. There should be no surprises come if you're doing an annual review. There should be no surprises. Everyone should kind of know I'm on track for a promotion, or I'm doing the role and I just need time and role here. And also piggybacking off of that, we also did some internal surveying and through our HR team, and found that people did want a very formal training process and training department in our company. So we had all these folks who have been with the company for so long, and we were like, we know what good is. We know what good looks like. But people wanted a formal kind of training. So we, through this whole performance management, coinciding with that, we also built out a learning and development program. And it was one of our folks who was a VP who has been with us since she graduated college. She knew the secret sauce of what makes something good. And she worked with the operations person below me, who also understands what good looks like, and the VPs that we mentioned who were going on maternity leave. And we really formalized it. So coinciding with that, if there's areas in performance management that come up of, you need a little bit more of this or that, they are getting that, not just from their manager. They have another third-party person who is not working with them on a day-to-day basis on client stuff. They're working with them and is has that outside perspective and can work with them on some of those areas. So that's been super helpful.
Yeah, beautiful. And, I think that one of the things that we saw in the Great Resignation is sometimes people left an organization because they didn't know that they were valued. They weren't getting feedback. They didn't know they were going to be up for a promotion, and then as they're leaving, people are, we have
handing
to
out promotions.
This is the superstar. We have to do this. And it's like, gosh, like that is part of developing a culture, right? Of rising leaders is you've got to let them know they're a rising leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope everyone feels like we do a good job of that, of making people feel valued so that they're not one foot out the door and then we're throwing a promotion at them, as they're trying to leave.
Right.
That never ends well for anyone. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this has been an awesome discussion with both of you. I really thank you for your time. And I want to just kind of summarize some of the things as we talk about for other companies. You've got to plan and budget for development as part of your organization's growth. Develop your team, your rising leaders, and your current leaders, right? Raise self-awareness individually and collectively. Develop skills and find ways to accentuate existing strengths. Practice and coach. So it can be an internal coach, it can be an external coach. Coaching, sometimes for confidence, I found that was a lot with some of your more junior people. Coaching for confidence, coaching for skill building. Find development opportunities for people, whether it's someone going on leave or a new project. Finding those opportunities helps develop your rising leaders. Hold people accountable, and that's that performance management piece. Holding them accountable is part of developing rising leaders, right? And then you got a plan like you guys did for succession and disruption of leadership roles. So it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing, but it is so important as you grow your business to develop these leaders. So Donna, I'm going to bring you back to the stage to take some questions for these guys. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, ever so much. And it's funny because Kelly and I are listening to the two of you talk, and Kelly is my Christina. So Kelly came to me right out of college almost 13 years ago and has been very much a rising star. And she has just been promoted to partner, and she is part of my succession.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
Very
so I
inspiring.
love this topic, and it's amazing. So we only have a few minutes, so I'm gonna steal a few minutes from me because I'm here. So my question is, Christina, you talked about your team has multifaceted roles. And in small companies, and we're certainly a lot smaller than you are, we've got about 20 people at this point, and our audiences of varying sizes. Having a multifaceted role is like a superpower and kryptonite. And I think the challenge is also that you're asking these people to hold multifaceted jobs, which you kind of have to do, which kind of makes life interesting, but it also makes life difficult. But I think it also sometimes makes it difficult for our rising stars to go from doing to leading and managing. Can you talk to me a tiny bit about that? And Kelly, I don't know if you've got something to add to that, but I know we've had this conversation so many times.
No, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, Kelly, man, I've been in your, well, sometimes I'm still in your shoes, but it's really hard because when you're have a really great work ethic and you're a hard work, it's hard to like leave the work behind, the work behind. And none of us have egos, right? And I can tell, like, you don't have an ego. And so you're like, I'll do that, right? And it needs to get done. And that's something that Laura and her team kind of pointed, which like I said, I thought it was a pause. I thought it was a good thing I was doing for everybody, but they were like, sometimes we just need her to put that aside because we feel, we're here, we can do it. And so it really just takes you having to trust in other people. They might do, hoping that what you've taught them will give them the tools that they need. And they might do it a little differently than you did, right? But you have to give people room to kind of grow on their own. And I will say, some of the folks, not just in my own department of ops, but in other departments, they've done it a better way, or they've improved it, right? And you have to have no air about it and just be like, so glad that you took this over, that you're doing this, because you're doing it way better than I could have. And you learn something from them. It's a little scary, but I promise you, it will work out in the long run. And if what they're doing isn't exactly to what needs to get done, that's a coaching moment, right? Of here's how I would do it, or show me what you're going to say, or tell me how you're going to react, and I'll tell you if that's going to go over well or not. And then eventually they just fly on their own. And it makes your life so much easier, and you're able to focus on the strategic stuff.
Awesome. So Kelly, do we have any audience questions?
We do. I also had one question too, since I have the opportunity, I'm going to take it.
Sure.
Now, when Laura was speaking, when she first started working with you, she mentioned that your employees had a real high level of trust in both of you. And I truly believe that there is a trickle down effect. So you're able to empower your employees because they are so willing to follow you. So I would love to hear actually from each of you, what would be your top advice for being a trustworthy leader that people want to follow?
I think what Christine said, let them fly on their own. Just give enough time to check in so you can fix anything that's going awry. But I found much earlier than Christine did, people do things much better than I do. So I learn a lot of times when I give it a project away, it comes back a lot better than I would. Maybe a couple comments because of my age and experience, but yeah, let them fly.
Yeah. And I think in addition to that, it's giving them credit. And then and a lot of other folks in our company, we don't take credit for other people's work. They're not doing the behind the scenes work for me to hand it in and say, this is what I did, it's giving them the accolades and stepping aside. And even if I did do something, it's always trying to make sure everyone else around you looks good. And then they trust that you're not in this for yourself, you're in this for the greater good. And I think that's super important. Credit takers is a big pet peeve of mine.
Yes. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, I really love that advice. And yeah, I can see, you have such a great dynamic and how that's been able to, enable such a powerful empire to grow from that. So congratulations to you ladies. That's incredible.
Thank you.
And let's see, we did have some other questions. I think we may have time for one, or
yeah, one is going to do it.
Okay. We had one from Daniel Holt, which was for, when you're empowering, is there a place for employee ownership or an ESOP relating to succession? How do you guys kind of approach that idea?
Yeah, we're actually working through that now. Funny you asked, because it was not on my radar. It was growing them, but at some point, someone else needs to take over. So that's actually something we're actually working on currently. So I don't have the answer, but it's in the works.
Laura, anything from you on that? What you've seen?
Yeah, so, there's lots of different ways to do succession, right? And ESOP is one of them, which is where you basically sell your company to your employees and you get some payments in the future. It's got some nice tax advantages. That could be an interesting topic for one of these called the next series. We know a lot of good ESOP people. So lots of good things, but succession planning needs to be done, whatever your, future outcome is, whether it's sale of the business or ESOP or whatever, or just close it down. You need to know what your succession plan is.
Mhm.
Agreed. So the time always goes so quickly, but this is, when we first started this program, it was the sales and marketing roundtable, but the truth is it's about business growth. And there are so many different aspects to business growth. We've talked a lot about culture. We've talked a lot about systems. We've talked a lot about selling. But succession, I often joke when I opened my company almost 30 years ago, I could tell you this now because it's not anymore, but my password for everything was retire 50. And I'm way north of that. And it hasn't happened, but I have this kind of work-life balance that, and I do have a succession plan. So I do believe that part of business growth is your succession plan. And I think you have to behave today and operate today for the company that you want to be. It's like, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So Laura, Linda, Christine, thank you so much for providing your insight. We really, truly appreciate it. Kel, thanks for coming on and helping me with questions. We wish all of you a great day. We are recording this. We will send out the recording. And I thank you all for being here. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.